Welcome to this deep dive. I'm really thrilled you're joining us today. We have a massive stack of sources in front of us.
Oh, massive is an understatement.
Yeah, literally a mountain on the desk here.
Yeah.
We're talking confidential player psychological profiles, heavily detailed tactical playbooks, raw statistical logs, and observer summaries from the Academy.
The good stuff.
Exactly. And our mission today is to unpack all of this, to look at the Azure Bears. They are, of course, a foundational team from Manheim Academy, and we're going to look specifically at the underlying mechanics of their recent Manaball season.
Right, because, for anyone who maybe only catches the highlights, Manaball is a 340-year-old magical sport.
Yeah.
It's essentially four-dimensional hockey played inside an enclosed dome with a levitating mana orb. It is intense.
It is brutal, and we all know how brutal the neutral plane has been this year across the league.
Yeah.
But the pair's regular season finish, they ended up with 10 points. That's 4 wins, 3 losses, and 2 overtime losses, tying them for second place. And that gives us an absolutely perfect case study.
It really does, because
Yeah.
when you look past the raw numbers, what we actually have in these documents is a fascinating psychological and tactical autopsy.
Yeah.
We aren't just looking at sports recap stats. We're looking at the story of a team that was kind of suffocating under the weight of its own rigid perfectionism,
Totally.
and how one completely unexpected disruptor managed to alter their entire trajectory.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you look at the Azure Bears playbook, their entire identity is built on a very specific historic foundation. Their motto essentially boils down to structure wins games.
Right. Structure above all else.
Yeah. They play a highly disciplined 2-2 system. 2 strikers, 2 centers, 2 defenders. They completely avoid the flashy, chaotic aerial dive attacks from the upper and lower layers that have become, super popular
You
recently.
think the vertical game?
They do. Instead, they dominate the neutral plane with methodical cycling. They have that signature play, the bear spiral.
Ah, the bear spiral.
Mm.
It's a masterpiece of spatial control. At least, on paper it is.
Right.
The play relies on patiently passing the mana orb along the dome's outer barrier. They're essentially tracing the equator of the arena, holding possession, and drawing the opposing ward defenders out of the slot inch by inch.
Just grinding them down.
Exactly, until a striker can slip right into the center. It is methodical, patient, and, frankly, incredibly predictable.
Yeah, it is.
But historically, when the execution is flawless, it operates like a machine.
Right. But to run a machine that requires flawless execution, you need absolute precision from your playmakers.
You do.
So let's look at the offensive core, starting with the centers, Freya Kroon and Rachel Aubergine.
Okay, yeah.
Freya is studying zoology, and we see a lot of zoology students use it for literal beast taming. But Freya applies it to her spatial awareness.
It's so smart.
It's wild. She uses pack mind tactics to unconsciously track her teammates' positions without even looking. She logged 14 assists this season, doing exactly that.
And that pack-minded connection requires immense mental bandwidth.
Absolutely.
Then you pair her with Rachel Aubergine, who focuses on mind shielding. Rachel's job in the bear spiral is to deflect the psychic, static, and telepathic interference from the opposing team's defenders.
She runs interference for the interference.
Right. She maintains the integrity of Freya's pack link. And Rachel put up a perfectly balanced 6 goals and 6 assists.
It's a brilliant synergy.
Mm-hmm.
And they feed 2 highly specialized strikers. You have Chris Aaron, who uses aeromancy to manipulate the microcurrents inside the dome.
The golden boy.
Yes, the golden boy. He literally negates his own gravity to glide silently into the slot for a pass. He scored 9 goals.
Wow.
And then there's Dial Elfkel, their sniper. Dial uses kinesis to bend the orb's trajectory at the absolute last millisecond, slipping it past the Guardian shields. He put away 10 goals.
Such a lethal setup.
So looking at these tactical profiles, these 4 are the perfect core. Why did this setup become a liability?
Well, what's fascinating here is the psychological synthesis hiding beneath these tactical profiles.
Okay.
When you read the Academy Observer Notes, you realize that despite these stellar statistics and brilliant magical applications, every single one of them is suffocating under expectations.
Interesting.
They are prisoners of their own archetypes. Take Chris Aaron. Around campus, he's known as the golden boy. He looks like he belongs on a recruitment poster.
Right. The perfect athlete.
Exactly. But his psychological file notes a deep, unspoken anxiety. He fears being valued only as a symbol. He's terrified that the role he plays leaves no room for human inconsistency.
Wow.
His greatest fear isn't falling short, it's being permitted to fall at all.
That has to be exhausting, especially when you're actively using aeromancy to stay perfectly suspended above the arena floor. The physical metaphor there is just staggering.
It really is.
And the profile on Dial Elf Kyle is just as intense. He's viewed as the cool kid who makes kinetic manipulation look effortless. But the Academy observers note that he quietly worries his reputation has outgrown his permission to be human.
Yeah, that's heavy.
He hides his physical fatigue, which is massive when you're constantly bending kinetic energy,
Yeah.
because he just doesn't know if vulnerability will be met with understanding or severe disappointment.
It's a textbook case of imposter syndrome manifesting as perfectionism,
Totally.
and it continues with the centers. Freya Kroon carries the title of the Valkyrie. She's viewed as this strong, reliable Nordic archetype.
Right.
People see her as a pillar who never falters, and because of that projection, she feels like she can never take her armor off.
And Rachel.
Rachel Aubergine might have the most complex burden of them all. She is the headmaster's granddaughter.
Oh, man.
Yeah, she's battling the crushing weight of inherited doubt. Every time she uses mind shielding to successfully block an attack, there are whispers of nepotism.
That's so unfair.
She's trying so hard to prove she is more than just her lineage, which forces her to be flawlessly diplomatic and successful at all times.
I want you, the listener, to think about that dynamic for a second. Have you ever felt trapped by your own competence,
Oh, that's a great question.
where you're so incredibly good at being reliable that everyone just assumes you never need a break? This entire offensive core is built on the fear that one single mistake will completely ruin their reputation.
And that fear bleeds directly into their defensive philosophy.
It does.
The Azure Bear system demands perfection, and when you demand perfection, you create a culture where people are tightly wound and chronically overtrained.
Which brings us to the defense. The sources highlight Chris Crook and Kenny Brodnoxy.
Right.
Chris is a geomancy student. In the context of Manaball, he uses geomancy to literally anchor his boots to the dome's kinetic plating. He makes himself an immovable object on the neutral plane.
Literally immovable.
Literally. His file describes him as having a military upbringing, built like someone who learned early that posture is not optional. And Kenny, who studies warding, is even more extreme. He casts these massive, color-coded kinetic walls. His uniform is pristine, his locker is mathematically organized, and he literally told an observer that reliability is a one-strike profession.
A one-strike profession.
He believes one dropped ward ruins trust forever.
It is incredibly brittle. And standing behind this entire rigid apparatus is their starting guardian, Ryan Ward.
The Knight.
Exactly, they call her the Knight. She studies prayer magic. In the net, she uses low-frequency chants to create passive, highly resilient auras around the goal.
She's a wall.
A total stoic. She views any form of emotional or physical vulnerability as a dereliction of duty. She believes she has to hold the line no matter what.
But wait, if this rigid structure and these powerful magical anchors won them 4 games early in the season, why did it suddenly become a cage? Like, why didn't it just carry them through?
Because a perfectly rigid structure is inherently fragile when it encounters something it cannot categorize.
What do you mean?
Think about a pane of glass. It's incredibly strong against a flat, evenly distributed force.
Right.
But if you strike it with a sharp, unpredictable point, the entire thing shatters.
Oh, I see.
The Azure Bears built a pane of glass on the neutral plane. It worked perfectly against teams that played a traditional horizontal game. But then they met the Crimson Tigers.
The Crimson Tigers. If the Bears are structure, the Tigers are pure, unadulterated chaos.
Complete chaos.
According to the playbook summaries, the Tigers run a 3-2-1 system. 3 centers rotating constantly, completely ignoring the neutral plane.
They don't even use it.
No. Instead, they attack vertically from the upper and lower layers of the dome. In Game 1 of the season, the Bears lost to the Tigers 6-4.
Which was a warning sign.
Exactly. It was a warning sign. But Game 7, the logs for Game 7 are just brutal to read.
Game 7 was the breaking point. It was a humiliating 6-1 blowout.
Yeah.
And the mechanics of why it happened are crucial. The Tigers' top scorers, Autumn Fallon and Ty Clyde, just ran wild.
They were everywhere.
Sydney Distanzik was dropping perfect passes from the upper layer, literally dropping the mana orb straight down over the heads of the Bears' defenders.
And this is where the magic disciplines totally clash, right?
Yes.
Because Chris Crook is using geomancy to anchor himself to the equator of the dome. He's an immovable object facing forward. But the attack isn't coming from in front of him, it's coming from 20 feet above him.
He can't even see it.
His anchor is completely useless. He's a coiled spring facing the wrong direction. And Kenny Brodnoxie is throwing up these beautiful, pristine, flat kinetic wards, and the tigers are simply flying over them or diving under them.
Yeah, the multi-layered vertical attacks completely bypassed the bear's flat structure.
Exactly that.
The geometry of the attack rendered the bear's perfectionism irrelevant. And who pays the price for that?
Ryan Ward.
Poor Ryan Ward. The stoic knight was left entirely exposed in the net. Her passive prayer auras are designed to absorb heavy, predictable shots from the slot, not erratic ricochets dropping from the ceiling.
It's a nightmare for a Guardian.
The logs show she faced an unbelievable 30 shots in Game 7. She saved 24 of them, which is heroic by any metric.
It's incredible.
But she let in 6 goals.
The observer notes from that game describe Ryan Ward skating off the field looking completely hollow. The dam broke.
It did.
And they didn't adapt. That's the craziest part of the playbook logs. 2 games later, Game 9, they played the Golden Eagles, another team that utilizes heavy aerial dive attacks.
And what do?
The Bears trotted out the exact same 2-2-2 flat structure, the exact same bear spiral, and they lost again, 6-4.
Because their discipline, which was supposed to be their greatest weapon, had become a prison.
A total prison.
They were so terrified of making a mistake, so terrified of breaking their archetypes, that they couldn't improvise when the game plan fell apart.
Wow.
To adapt would mean admitting the structure was flawed, and for players like Freya, Chris, and Rachel, the structure is the only thing validating their worth.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because the schedule was not kind to them. In Game 13, they have a pivotal rematch against the Crimson Tigers.
The worst possible matchup.
The absolute worst. The Bears are battered, they're reeling, the media's whispering about a total collapse, and the coaching staff makes a desperate, completely out-of-character decision.
They bench the knight?
They bench Ryan Ward, they sit the reliable knight,
Yeah.
and they start their backup guardian, Manaball.
This decision is the fulcrum of the entire season. You really have to understand who Manaball is in the context of this ultra-disciplined team.
Let me pull up Mana's profile, because it reads like it belongs to a different academy entirely.
It really does.
She is a junior studying cryomancy. By every physical measurement, she is the smallest athlete at Manheim.
Tiny.
But the observer notes are wild. One coach wrote that she treats physical limits as personal insults.
I love that line.
It's so good. While the rest of the team is focused on calm, methodical control, Mana is pure, relentless, explosive energy.
And her application of cryomancy is highly unorthodox. Most cryomancers build thick, slow ice structures.
Right, big walls.
Exactly. Mana uses it for micro-explosions. She flash freezes the moisture in the air to create split-second ricochet pads. She freezes the friction on the dome floor to slide at impossible speeds.
She's just bouncing around out there.
She doesn't wait for the orb to come to her. She violently intercepts it.
She is a disruptor, the kind of player who, if you underestimate her twice, you won't finish the drill.
Absolutely.
So let's look at Game 13. She steps into the net for the most high-pressure game of the season, against the most explosive, chaotic, vertical offense in the league. The Tigers generate 28 shots, attacking from the upper and lower layers just like before.
Yep.
But Mana stops 26 of them.
She became a wall, but crucially, not a rigid wall.
Right.
Her chaotic, erratic intensity somehow perfectly balanced the Bears' deeply ingrained rigidity. The rest of the Azure Bears were still trying to slow the game down, still trying to execute the bear spiral and control possession.
Sticking to the plan.
Right. But instead of having a static knight behind them, they had Mana in the back, matching the Tigers' frantic energy, save for save.
The game summary describes her shattering her own cryo shields just to deflect multi-layered attacks. She was completely unbothered by the geometry of the Tigers' offense.
It didn't faze her at all.
She shut down Autumn Fallon. She completely neutralized Ty Clyde. And because she was handling the chaos in the net, the Bears were finally able to dictate the pace in the neutral plane without constantly checking over their shoulders.
And they pushed the game to overtime.
They pushed it to overtime.
And the overtime goal is deeply poetic, based on the profiles we discussed earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
But Rachel Aubergine, the player, fighting the whispers of nepotism, fighting the pressure to be perfectly diplomatic, finishes a patient passing sequence, trusting Freya's pack link implicitly, and scores the game winner.
A dramatic 3-2 victory.
It's just cinematic.
It was a massive upset. But the data proves it wasn't a fluke. Look at Game 15, 2 games later against the Golden Eagles.
The same team that carved them up 6-4 earlier in the season.
Exactly. The Eagles bring their speed and their aerial dive attacks. Manamina starts in net again, and she delivers an absolute masterclass.
Yeah, she does.
She faces 29 shots, she makes 29 saves, a 1.000 save percentage. She secures a 3-0 shutout victory.
The statistical contrast between the two Guardians at the end of the season tells a profound story.
Let's hear it.
Ryan Ward, the disciplined, unyielding knight who played the bulk of the early season, finished her time in net with an 83.6% save rate.
Which is solid, but
Right. But Manamina, the chaotic, explosive backup who stepped into the absolute highest pressure games when the defensive structure had totally collapsed, finished with a staggering 93.75% save rate.
so what does this all mean? I mean, we're breaking down magical sports statistics and dome geometry, sure, but the underlying narrative here is incredibly human.
It is. If we connect this to the bigger picture, I want you to really think about the balance between structure and chaos in your own approach to high-stress situations.
Yeah.
The Azure Bears built an entire institutional identity on control. They built it on avoiding mistakes and projecting flawless competence.
Trying to be perfect.
Trying to be perfect, but true resilience isn't just about building strong, impenetrable walls. Ryan Ward and Kenny Brodnoxy tried to be strong walls, and they shattered under the pressure of the unpredictable.
They couldn't bend.
Exactly. True resilience is about having the flexibility to absorb the chaos when it inevitably arrives. It took the smallest, fiercest, most non-traditional player on the roster to give that rigid system the spark it needed to survive.
Yeah.
Manamina was the chaos they required to make their structure functional.
And the empathy factor in these observer logs is just off the charts. When you read the final season evaluations for the players, almost every single profile features a variation of the exact same lesson.
What did they say?
One Academy observer explicitly wrote, "They need to learn that even guardians are allowed to rest. Worth does not vanish when certainty falters."
That's beautiful.
In it. For the Golden Boy floating in the slot, for the Valkyrie linking the pack, for the headmaster's granddaughter, they all believe they had to be flawless to deserve their spot on the roster.
And by Maina taking the net, she shattered that pristine country club atmosphere.
Literally shattered it.
She was likely yelling, her jersey was probably untucked. She was doing whatever it took to stop the orb without caring how it looked.
Yeah.
By taking on the burden of the chaos, she gave the rest of the team permission to be messy. She gave them permission to be imperfect.
That's such a huge psychological shift.
Players like Freya and Dial finally had the psychological space to breathe. They didn't have to grip their sticks so tightly they could stop posing for the recruitment posters and just play their game.
To wrap up this journey of the Azure Bears, we've watched a team transition from suffocating under their own historic expectations to finding their salvation in a completely unexpected disruptor.
A really amazing arc.
It is. They finished the regular season with those 10 points. They are a battered squad, absolutely, but they look completely revitalized heading into the postseason.
This raises an important question, though, and it's a provocative thought I want to leave you with.
Okay, lay it on us.
The Manaball playoffs are looming. There is a maximum of 11 games to be played to reach the championship. The statistics strongly suggest the Bears will face the Crimson Tigers again in a high-stakes, single-elimination scenario.
Oh, that's going to be tense.
Exactly. So what happens then? When the pressure is at its absolute peak, will the Azure Bears coaching staff panic and revert to the safety of their historic rigid discipline?
Will they bench Maina?
Will they put the knight back in the net because it feels safer? Or will they finally fully accept the messy, unpredictable chaos that saved their season?
That is the million-dollar question.
Think about your own life. When the pressure is truly on and the stakes are at their highest, do you retreat into rigid rules, or do you dare to let a little chaos in?
That is the perfect question to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take a moment today to look at the structures in your own world. Question where they might be a little too brittle, and maybe, just maybe, let a little of that Manamina energy in. We'll see you next time.